Playing with Fire is just a fun family comedy about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Jake Carson is a dedicated, driven individual who who thinks he has life all figured out, and then realizes he does not. I think the overall tone of the movie is fun. It's supposed to be a movie to make you, I'd say, think, laugh, and cry, all in one sitting. There's so much in the film that people can take away. For me, I just think it's no one ever has it all figured out. It's going to be palatable for all audiences, but it's a really good balance of both verbal improvisational comedy and physical comedy. So I think you have brilliant comedians like John Leguizamo and Keegan-Michael Key, and Judy has her moments as well, mixed in with the slapstick physical comedy usually that the kids set up and I fall victim to. Rodrigo is skittish, yet so motivated, and at the same time afraid, and loves to cook. Mark is unbelievably prepared and wanting to please, and I would say Axe is kind of the anomaly. There's a lot of mystique around Axe, and Jake certainly is a leader who has given opportunity to each of the three aforementioned smoke jumpers, and together they somehow work extremely well as a team. I think they all play to their strengths, and because it's a team, they have ability to hide their weaknesses. Working with Tyler, Keegan, and John has been amazing. I was fortunate enough to work with John before on another picture, and I think he's tremendously gifted. And Tyler has been a godsend for us in many ways, and I think Keegan is also exceptionally brilliant. Everybody on the set, both in front of and behind the camera, are truly very good at what they do. So I'm very grateful to be surrounded by such talented individuals. The basis of the whole movie is you have yourself a biorhythm. I wake up, I do this stuff, essentially, and I go to bed. Smoke jumpers are such an extreme, adrenaline-fueled set of professionals that you would think that these guys could essentially do anything. But having a family is just not what they're normally used to. So that's kind of the comedy and the story that unfolds throughout the movie. It's taking people that are used to doing some sort of thing that we as common folks think like, oh, I could never do that, but it's their common world, and then putting them in a common world that the everyday person is like, yeah, that's just how it goes. So it's a nice little switcheroo. Jake is a man of rule and structure, but also a man of doing things his way, I think, because he always wants to have control over the situation. And there's a great quote in the movie, you can't control a fire, you just have to contain it until it burns out. And that quote is almost the trigger point of Jake to begin to think differently. But you can't control multiple people, you can control what you can control yourself. And I think that's a lesson that Jake learns over the course of the film. Jake learns a tremendous amount from the kids, that it's okay to be human. You don't necessarily have to be a robot. And maybe that the goals someone you thought wanted you to achieve are not exactly the goals that they might have really wanted you to achieve. And once again, I think a very important underlying message in the film is to embrace the uncomfortable. And Jake, being someone of routine and structure, enjoys the comfortable, which is odd because he can jump into a 5-alarm blaze, which is uncomfortable. But like getting out of your routine and getting out of your comfortable space. We have a man on this set, Andy Fickman, who has tremendous patience and tremendous adaptability. And I think attitude on a film starts from the top, and Andy's attitude is always awesome. He has been dealt some pretty interesting cards over the course of filming this, and not one point is he ever shaken or shows that he's shaken. Brianna's character, Bryn, is just a teenage girl who is trying to keep a family together. And they've been thrown into a very unusual set of circumstances. And Brianna's fantastic. She's taken on the role wonderfully. I think that's a very tough role to ask someone to play because it's such an unusual scenario. She's extremely good at what she does, and she will do great things far beyond this. But it's awesome to have her in the role that she's in, especially because we rely on the two younger kids for a lot of the comedy and a lot more of the jokes. She essentially is the kids' Jake Carson, where I am relying on the other smoke jumpers for the comedy, and I'm kind of the person that pushes the narrative forward. She's the same, where the littler kids are the comedy, and she has to push the narrative forward. Judy plays Dr. Hicks, and we share commonalities, and like we're completely dedicated to work. And I think when you get both of our personalities together, we also share social awkwardness because she's stuck in a lab all day and I'm stuck in the depot. She's amazing. Judy is absolutely amazing. I remember the very first day she was on set, one of her first shots was like walking out and me watching her walk out. And in 8 different takes, just crossing through frame, she gave 8 different ranges of emotion and all amazing. And I remember watching, like I'm watching going, wow. She's just so very good at what she does. And on top of that, and this is what I enjoy about working here, especially on this picture, she's a really nice person. She's just really, really good at what she does and nice enough to kind of like teach me a little bit and help me develop that chemistry. And she's hilarious, yes. The physical comedy in this movie is, that's a lot of the stunt work. There's a lot of what would be classified as stunts that are really just funny moments, and they're easier to do than jumping out of a plane from my perspective, because jumping out of a perfectly good plane seems like a bad idea. They're all fun. You're never at a sense of heightened awareness where like, if this goes wrong, this isn't any good. Like it's just slapstick, easy definable, get it in any language. Hose outstretched, trip over hose, fall on face. Kid goes in to take paint off truck, turns on hose and bubbles, and now the depot room is filled with bubbles. Like it's something that everyone can get. And I think that's very important because many of the jokes, many of the fun in this movie is going to transcend language. Everyone will be able to understand it. That's all ages, all cultures. Andy knows we need a little bit of action, but Andy also believes in the heart of the film, and I think that's what makes a good film story. I don't think action for the sake of action gives the consumer what they want, especially not in a film like this. I think it's about being invested in these people and defining that they are who they are very early, and Andy does a great job at that, and then taking the audience on a wonderful ride where literally they think, laugh, and cry. So Andy is really good about that, never losing sight of what movie we're making and always trying to find an emotional tie-in to anything that we do. Audiences will think, laugh, and cry. The story of the movie is going to make you think, the comedy of the movie is going to make you laugh, and the heart of the movie is going to make you cry. And I think that's an awesome day in life. So the fact that we can be able to do that in the movies, that's a good way to call this work.